This horse came to me in mid-November 2024. It's not a horse for a Barbie or any other doll, so it's completely new, both on this channel and in my collection. This horse comes from the late 80s of the last century, so from my childhood. But as a child, I had never heard of them. Yes, about them, because it's a whole collection of horses called FashionStar Fillies, but more on that later. As you know, I was born and I live in Poland, which unfortunately these horses didn't reach in their heyday. I found out about them a few or a dozen years ago, so in this video I present them from my perspective. This horse is called Chloe. As you can see, she isn't very big. She also has partially unrealistic colors, which can be seen at the first glance. They are metallic. She has a very long tail, and at first I thought it was because it was falling apart. As you can see, the hair is very tangled and twisted. Additionally, it seems as if it is a bit less voluminous than it should be, because there is a lot of free space in the tail hole. So probably some of the tail hair is missing. But the condition of the tail shows that this horse has indeed presented some fashion on the catwalks in the past. Before Chloe reached me, all I knew was that she was a FashionStar Fillies. As the name of the series suggests, they were fashionable fillies. I also knew that they had some accessories and clothes, that they were colorful, and that's it. So this is the moment when I discovered the series, and I have no idea what's up with those braids in the mane. Why are they sewn up? Are they original? Are they supposed to have been like this since she left the factory? She has a funny muzzle. She's so interesting, isn't she? There is no narrowing like in Barbie's horses, because she is not a horse for a doll. Looking at my Barbie horses, she could be a friend of my Blizia, because she has similar spots on her butt and is theoretically grey. There are some minor paint chips here and there, but they are not very visible. She has markings on the inside of the hind leg, like mattel horses. And here we have 1987, made in China, and letters KPT. I notice more minor abrasions. The muzzle is intact, no abrasions, no paint chips. Looking at the tail, was the mane originally this length? It doesn't look like a cut, that's weird. Damn, these braids looks original. They are straight, they're not damaged. That's very interesting. The length of the mane is bothering me, as are these sewn up braids. She has a star on her cheek that is characteristic of this series. I also find some traces of blue paint or something similar on her body. She is quite solid when it comes to plastic. These braids are puzzling me. Why are they shorter than the mane itself? In the pictures, they look like they do. But having her in my hands, I start to really like her. And that's something I didn't expect. I bought her out of a pure curiosity and the fact that it is something exotic and unusual for me. Well, enough unboxing, it's time to take care of her. Let's see what I can come out of this, because there's going to be some fuss with this hair and a lot of work. Let the fun begin. First, a standard wash. For Chloe, I chose a delicate detergent because I'm worried about her paint. As you can see, I use the soft part of the sponge so as not to accidentally scratch her. Glue stains are very stubborn. Maybe this gentle liquid is too weak. Let's try dishwashing liquid. She's finally clean. Time to untangle and comb. The hair is still damp. I start with the tail, it's clearly in worse condition. I apply hair conditioner to the hair and I start combing, from the ends to the roots. As we know, it's a very dull, tedious and laborious job. So in the meantime, I will tell you about FashionStar Fillies and Chloe herself, because, as I said, for Poland it is quite an exotic specimen. Has probably heard of My Little Pony, colorful fairy tale ponies with cute marks on their buttocks and sides. My Little Pony appeared in the world in the 80s of the last century. Yes, as I said, those were the times of my childhood, but I never had an original pony and somehow I was not particularly interested in them. But let's get back to the topic. We know that Hasbro is responsible for My Little Pony. Another company, Kenner or kennerparkertoys, in short KPT, which we saw on Chloe's signature, started developing its own horse toy line for girls in '87, namely FashionStar Fillies. It worked. Both the tail and the mane are untangled and finally combable, although the fibers still tangle because the ends are bent, so it's time for a straightening. FashionStar Fillies were a bit of a competition for My Little Pony, although they were aimed at the slightly older children, which is why the horses had shapes resembling live horses. What could connect them to My Little Pony were the colors, long hair and accessories. Because although the fashionable fillies resembled real horses, they did not have any typical horse accessories. They had no bridles, saddle pads, saddles, not even horseshoes. On the other hand, they had a wardrobe similar to Barbie's. At least that was the idea. You could buy various fashion packs with trendy styles separately, as well as sets of accessories called star spangles, which contained not only perfumes, but even nail polishes resembling those for nails. Well, except that horses don't have nails, but these polishes could be used to decorate them. The fillies came in two larger series. FashionStar Fillies, consisting of 6 fillies in 4 molds, including My Chloe, the second largest series, Feeling Fancy, consisting of 8 fillies and 2 new molds, and one smaller series, Royal Beauties, consisting of 3 horses. In addition to them, there were also series with foals. Of course, they were mares. The basic Sassy 16s, which consisted of 6 foals in 3 molds, and 2 smaller Songstar 16s, including 3 foals in basic molds, each of them representing a different type of music. The second smaller series of foals was Sweet Scent 16s, and also consisted of 3 horses in basic molds. Their characteristic feature was a fruity smell. There was also a special styling kit with 1 mare, which was available in 2 color variants of her hair. Finally, I must mention the only stallion in the herd, Cliff, who had his own mold, slightly more powerful than the adult fillies. Every horse in the Fashion Stars series had a star on its cheek, with 2 exceptions. Royal Beauties had no stars, and Cliff had a star on his shoulder. Fashion Star Fillies were too much competition for My Little Pony, and after Kenner fell into Hasbro's hands, the series was discontinued in the early 90s. The horses were initially available mainly in the US. Later, through the marriage of kennerparkertoys with Tonka, they spread to England, Holland and Belgium. Eventually, they also appeared in Canada, Sweden, Australia and New Zealand. My Chloe is from the first series. Her mold is called Lipizzaner Step, which reveals that she is a Lipizzaner horse, although she has a rather delicate figure for that breed. Chloe also appeared in the second series, Feeling Fancy. The horses from this line had a lace painted on their buttocks. The accessories she had were a dress with a monogram, a cape, a tail wrap, 4 main ornaments and a crown. Was a lot of work with the hair, as well as a lot of footage to edit. I managed to compress 2 hours into less than 7 minutes. Now let's move on to accessories. I wouldn't be myself if I didn't take on the task of creating a wardrobe for such a star. Of course, I am inspired by the original, recreating it in my own way and within the limits of the materials I have. I start by creating a form for cutting out a cape. This time I am revealing the cards for the first time and showing how I do it. I took a piece of paper, folded it in half, and trying it on the horse, I traced the shape I want to achieve. I'm cutting out a pattern. I'll be making fabric cuttings from it. Next up is the crown. I estimate its dimensions and start sketching. I use a photo of the original, which, by the way, I am not very impressed with. I fold the paper in half and cut out the pattern again. Next, the dress. Regular paper is not flexible, so this time I use a piece of toilet paper. I just happened to have it on hand. Now I will transfer my sketch to the paper, slightly correcting the shape. I cut out the form again. I check how it fits and make adjustments. The tail wrap. I also need a form. I'm putting tailoring aside for a moment to work on the main ornaments. As I said, Chloe had 4 pearl ornaments that were theoretically hair clips, although they were made of rubber bands. Of course, I don't have such beautiful cameo medallions, but I do have roses. First, I'm shaping the handles that I will glue to the back of the roses. Thread the beads onto the elastic band. Unfortunately, I didn't have any in the right colors, so I chose the opalescent ones. Now I thread the elastic through the glued handle and tie a knot. It wasn't easy, but I made it. And the decoration is ready. I do the rest the same way. Time for the wrap. I cut out a base of soft pink fleece according to the pattern. Now I'm going to sew sequins on it. Honestly, I have no idea how to sew sequins, and I haven't even checked. I am improvising. Are sewn in, and while I was sewing them, I noticed that the wrong side didn't look nice. I cut out another strip of fabric to cover the seams. I will also need a Velcro to finish the wrap. Let's see how it looks like on the tail. Time for cuttings for the dress and cape. I decided that my clothes would be double layered. Great, let's complicate things. Why I can't limit myself to simple things. For the bottoms I chose fabric that you might remember from the video about my Allegra. I also need a ruffle for the dress. I record the stitching process because this time I used the sewing machine. Time for the crown. I will cut it out of gold leather-like material. I use it to make Richard's bridle and reins. The crown originally had cutouts in the shape of rhombuses and circles. I don't have the skills or tools to make something similar, so I came up with the idea of using tiny sequins. I apply the glue to the blister pack and use a toothpick to apply it to the diamonds. The perfect tool for applying them is a diamond painting pen. Sorry about my head being in the frame, this is really a precise work. I didn't like the original pink decoration. I found a nice shiny ribbon in my storage and decided to glue it in a different way. The original is from the 80s and was completely sewn, not glued, but I'll pass on playing seamstress. Okay, I'm still missing something here. The crown should have some kind of precious stone, a jewel. I chose a crystal pink heart. Finally, elastics. One for the back to give the crown its shape and one to keep it on Chloe's head. Let's see how it fits. It's time to show off my accessories. I sewed them on a machine, as I said, off camera. As I mentioned before, I chose two materials, the floral one for the bottom and the pink satin lining material for the top. The dress fastens with a velcro at the front and belly. It turned out that the lower arms were a bit too short, so I had to add a piece of ribbon. The inscription may not be very aesthetic. I made it with a fabric marker. I think that maybe someday, when I'm really bored, I will grab a needle and embroider it. The problem is that I'm never bored, so it might be hard. I thought it was embroidered in the original, but after looking closer, it looks like some kind of print. In the original, the ruffle is sewn on from the bottom, but in my opinion, it looks nicer from the top. Chloe's second outfit is a cape. I made it from a very soft and pleasant to the touch velour. The fur is a bit of a curiosity. Well, I didn't have that material in my stash, but I did have fur yarn. And yes, it's knitted. It's a free-row piece. The fur came out quite thick and dense, and until I say it's knitted, no one will guess. Well, even when I tell them, they still don't believe me. In the original, this velvet part was darker in color and made of thinner material. There were no strings either. There was a sewn-in ribbon or elastic fastened with a velcro. I sewed the string by hand as well as the fur. Generally, sewing such small things on a machine and from materials that run away from under the presser foot is quite a challenge for me because I rarely use the machine and I don't have much skill. I also thought about attaching pieces of yarn to the ends of the strings to make some sort of pom-poms, but I don't know if it's a good idea because they are hard to tie anyway. I'll think about it. I definitely prefer this cape over the dress. I think it turned out really nice and it suits Chloe. We have a crown. I was inspired by the original, but in the original my sequined rhomboses are cutouts. There was no crystal heart and the pink ornament had a different shape and texture and was attached in a different place. What I didn't notice in the photos of the original was that it had arms that connected at the back, giving its shape. Instead of arms, I glued a piece of elastic. I also regret not gluing a second layer of gold material so that the crown was also gold at the back. Of course, this can still be fixed someday. Ultimate accessory is a tile wrap, which I created in front of the camera, so you know how it was created. Accessories are hair ornaments, which I also made on the screen. I can only say that it was difficult to put them on these braids because the bands are quite short and do not have very large holes. I also tried not to ruin these braids. My roses are probably a tad smaller than the original medallions, while the rubber bands are thicker and shorter. As I said, I didn't have matching beads. Firstly, in color, and secondly, in terms of the diameter of the hole to the thickness of the rubber bands. Hence the opalescent pearl ones. Iridescent, meaning they have such a glow in the color of purple and pink, so they match the roses and rubber bands. The braids are in really good condition, but here and there some individual fibers have come loose, which I decided to cut so as not to spoil the overall look and prevent further degradation. So I treat these braids with reverence and great care. I'll say I didn't expect this. Yes, I am repeating myself again, but it's the truth. When I first saw a picture of these horses, and it was before I got my Allegra, I didn't even look at it. I thought, okay, in the 80s there were some colorful horses in costumes, great, and I move on to the next picture. I think it was on Pinterest when I was looking for pictures of Barbie horses. So I absolutely didn't plan to add this series to my collection. Considering the fact that I had never heard of them before, they probably didn't exist in Poland at all. So finding even one in my country is like a miracle. So Chloe somehow ended up in Poland, but I can't tell when it happened and how. So you have to agree that this is a very interesting case. Now a quick comparison, before and after. As I mentioned that this proportion in the length of the mane and tail is not an anomaly. All of these horses were like that. As for straightening, the ends are still not perfect. You can still feel and see that they are bent. But compared to the state in which it came to me, it's much better. The hair was so damaged by styling that I decided not to wrap it in curls. Although slightly curled, it would certainly only look better. And this is how she looks in all her glory after renovation. And I'll be probably repeating myself again, but I really fell in love with her. I feel that she won't be joining the rest of the horses anytime soon. She'll be my everyday companion on one of the shelves. She's so unique, has beautiful, completely unreal eyes and interesting head shape, expression and pose. After refreshing her hair, she looks beautiful and her curled fringe is a hit. I don't mind the lack of details on the mold, the sequins on the tail or the crown on her head instead of a bridle, because it all just fits her and is a reflection of the 80s. I like her best in the cape. It's not a Barbie horse. Interestingly enough, it's not even a doll horse, but a horse that refers to Barbie from the 80s in its colors and character. A horse that is not obvious and probably not very well known. I also think that it makes a bigger impression in real life than in photos and video, although I always try to show you horses and other wonders from my collection in the most extensive way possible. I wonder what you think about her. How do you like her? Have you ever heard of FashionStar Fillies? Traditionally, thank you for watching this video to the end, all the likes and comments. If you haven't joined my subscribers yet, please consider it, because another video about another interesting horse will appear soon.